Good morning, boys and girls. We are in Paris. Actually, just kidding. We are in my daughter's room. She just got some really cool lights, and I like her new little bed and setup that she's got. So I am stealing her room for today's read aloud. So today's read. This is for Wednesday, December 2nd. And we really actually are almost finished with the book. We have a few more chapters. There's a party that's about to happen. It has started raining. And you should have this page out in front of you that on it has chapters 23 and 24, Wednesday. And it's got the questions of it started to rain at the party. What happened because of this? So you may even be able to make some predictions based off of the whole entire book and knowing what happens in the rain, but we will check and see what happens. And the last question would be, what does the preacher tell Opal when she blames him for her mother leaving? So there is a part in the story where, there is kind of a big conflict and argument and fight because of something that happens. So tensions are a little high, things get a little stressful. They planned this beautiful party, and the last sentence of chapter 22 says, and just then the rain came pouring down. So if it's an outdoor party and all this stuff is happening, can you only imagine how Opal must feel at this particular moment? So, chapter 23. Save the sandwiches, Gloria Dump yelled to me. Save the punch. I got my dog pictures, screamed Sweetie Pie. She went running around, tearing them off the trees and the chairs. Don't worry, she kept shouting. I got 'em. I grabbed the platter of egg salad sandwiches, and the preacher grabbed the punch, and we ran into the kitchen with them. And when I ran back outside, I saw that Amanda had hold of Miss Franny Block and was helping her into the house. Miss Franny was so teetery in her high heels that the rain would have knocked her right over if Amanda hadn't held on to her. I grabbed Gloria Dump's arm. I'm all right, she said, but she put her hand on my arm and held on to me tight. I looked around the garden before we left. All the crepe paper was melted and the candles were out, and then I saw Otis. He was standing there by his jar of pickles, looking down at his feet. Otis, I hollered at him over the rain, come on, we're going inside. When we got in the kitchen, Amanda and Miss Franny were laughing and shaking themselves like dogs. Think about that. What a downpour, said Miss Franny. Wasn't that something? That came right out of nowhere, said the preacher. Ooh-wee, said Gloria. Dog, squeaked Gertrude. I looked at her. She was sitting on the kitchen table. The thunder was really booming and cracking. Oh, no, I said. I looked around the kitchen. Don't worry, said Sweetie Pie. I saved them dog pictures. I got 'em right here. She waved around her wad of magazine pages. Where's Winn Dixie? I shouted. I forgot about him. I was just thinking about the party, and I forgot about Winn Dixie. I forgot about protecting him from the thunder. Now, Opal, the preacher said, he's probably right out in the yard, hiding underneath the chair. Come on, you and I will go look. Hold on, said Gloria Dump. Let me get you a flashlight and some umbrellas. But I didn't want to wait. I went running out into the yard. I looked under all the chairs and around all the bushes and trees. I called his name real loud. I felt like crying. It was my fault. I was supposed to hold on to him and I forgot. Opal, I heard the preacher call. I looked up. He was standing on the porch with Gloria. And Dunlap and Stevie Dewberry were standing there too. Your guests are here, the preacher said. I don't care, I hollered. Come on up here, Gloria Dump said, her voice all hard and serious. She shone her flashlight out at me. I walked up onto the porch and she handed me the flashlight. Tell these boys hey, she said. Tell them you are glad they came and that you will be right back just as soon as you find your dog. Hey, I said, thank you for coming. I just got to find Winn Dixie and then I'll be right back. Stevie stared at me with his mouth wide open. You want me to help? Dunlap asked. I shook my head. I tried not to cry. Come here, child, Gloria Dump said. She reached for me and pulled me close to her and whispered in my ear. There ain't no way you can hold on to something that wants to go. Do you understand? You can only love what you got while you got it. She squeezed me hard. Good luck now, she called, as me and the preacher stepped off the porch and out into the rain. Good luck, Miss Franny called from the kitchen. That dog ain't lost, I heard Sweetie Pie holler to someone inside. That dog's too smart to get lost. I turned around and looked back, and the last thing I saw was the porch light shining on Dunlap Dewberry's bald head. It made me sad, him standing on Gloria's porch, that bald head glowing. Dunlap saw me looking, and he raised up his hand and waved to me. I didn't wave back. So, if it started to rain at the party, what happened because of this? So there's a few things that happened because it started raining at the party. So with, what you know so far, write down what's happened at this point. Okay? So now we are on chapter 24. Me and the preacher started walking and calling Winn Dixie's name. I was glad it was raining so hard because it made it easy to cry. I cried and cried and cried, and the whole time I was calling for Winn Dixie. Winn Dixie, I screamed. Winn Dixie, the preacher shouted, and then he whistled loud and long, but Winn Dixie didn't show up. We walked all through downtown. We walked past the Dewberry's house and the Herman W. Block Memorial Library, and Sweetie Pie's yellow house and Gertrude's pets. We walked out to the Friendly Corners trailer park and looked underneath our trailer. We walked all the way out to the Open Arms Baptist Church of Naomi. We walked past the railroad tracks and right on down Highway 50. Cars were rushing past us and their tail lights glowed red, like mean eyes staring at us. Daddy, I said, Daddy, what if he got run over? Opal, the preacher said, we can't worry about what might have happened. All we can do is keep looking. We walked and walked. And in my head, I started on a list of 10 things that I knew about Winn Dixie, things I could write on big old posters and put up around the neighborhood, things that would help people look for him. Number 1 was that he had a pathological fear of thunderstorms. Number 2 was he liked to smile, using all his teeth. Number 3 was he could run fast. Number 4 was that he snored. Number 5 was that he could catch mice without squishing them to death. Number 6 was he liked to meet people. Number 7 was he liked to eat peanut butter. Number 8 was that he couldn't stand to be left alone. Number 9 was he liked to sit on couches and sleep in beds. Number 10 was he didn't mind going to church. I kept on going over and over the list in my head. I memorized it the same way I had memorized the list of 10 things about my mama. I memorized it so if I didn't find him, I would have some part of him to hold on to. But at the same time, I thought of something I had never thought of before, and that was that a list of things couldn't even begin to show somebody the real Winn Dixie, just like a list of 10 things couldn't ever get me to know my mama. And thinking about that made me cry even more. Me and the preacher looked for a long time, and finally he said we had to quit. But Daddy, I said, Winn Dixie's out there somewhere. We can't leave him. Opal, the preacher said, we have looked, and there's only so much looking we can do. I can't believe you're going to give up, I told him. India, Opal, the preacher said, rubbing his nose, don't argue with me. I stood and stared at him. The rain had let up some. It was mostly a drizzle now. It's time to head back, the preacher said. No, I told him, you go ahead and go, but I'm going to keep on looking. Opal, the preacher said in a real soft voice, it's time to give up. You always give up, I shouted. You're always pulling your head inside your stupid old turtle shell. I bet you didn't even go out looking for my mama when she left. I bet you just let her run off too. Baby, the preacher said, I couldn't stop her. I tried. Don't you think I wanted her to stay too? Don't you think I miss her every day? He spread his arms out wide and then dropped them to his sides. I tried, he said. I tried. Then he did something I couldn't believe. He started to cry. The preacher was crying. His shoulders were moving up and down, and he was making snuffly noises. And I don't believe that losing Winn Dixie doesn't upset me as much as it does you. I love that dog, and I love him too. Daddy, I said. I went and wrapped my arms around his waist. He was crying so hard he was shaking. It's all right, I told him. It's okay. Shh. I said to him like he was a scared little kid, everything will be okay. We stood there hugging and rocking back and forth, and after a while the preacher stopped shaking, and I still held on to him. And I finally got the nerve to ask the question I wanted to ask. Do you think she's ever going to come back? I whispered. No, the preacher said. No, I do not. I've hoped and prayed and dreamed about it for years, but I don't think she'll ever come back. So just to kind of clarify, they are talking about the mom, not Winn Dixie, because Winn Dixie is a guy, a boy. Gloria says that you can't hold on to anything, that you can only love what you've got while you've got it. She's right, the preacher said. Gloria Dump is right. I'm not ready to let Winn Dixie go, I said. I had forgotten about him for a minute. What with thinking about my mama. We'll keep looking, said the preacher. The two of us will keep looking for him. But do you know what? I just realized something, India, Opal. When I told you your mama took everything with her, I forgot one thing. One very important thing that she left behind. What? I asked. You, he said. I'm going to cry. Thank God your mama left me you. And he hugged me tighter. I'm glad I've got you too, I told him. And I meant it. I took hold of his hand and we started walking back into town, calling and whistling for Winn Dixie the whole way. So, I love that part of the story because it really does show that they love each other, they care about each other, they love the dog. They're really now realizing that Mama's not going to come back. And we're just hoping now that Winn Dixie will somehow be okay in all of this, or else she's going to have to deal with that loss as well. So it says, what does the preacher tell Opal when she blames him for her mother leaving? So what we kind of just talked about when he says, you didn't even go look for her. You didn't even try. What did he say? So if you need to go back or whatever, I mean, what was the conversation that they had? And what did he end up telling her that was such a wonderful thing? Okay, we're going to go ahead and stop. And tomorrow will be our last day. And you'll have Thursday and Friday to make up anything that you've missed. And then you're going to need to turn in your work on Friday. So I suggest that you do the last 2 chapters on Thursday and turn in your paperwork on Friday. Okay? All right. We'll see you then. Bye.